Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again. Today is, I believe, our fourth, Rini, I think it's our fourth session of Silver Linings, Finding Hope Through Faith. And again, I always talk a little bit about why we chose that meaning, or we chose that topic. The title, Silver Linings, is always kind of thought about as this as something hopeful amidst something gloomy. And in this context, certainly the pandemic that we're going through is an illustration of that. And so what we want to do is highlight how people are experiencing this pandemic and finding hope within it, and particularly through their faith. And so today, my guest is someone who's very special to my heart, which I have known her since I moved to California when I was 11 years ago. So we have with us Dr. Rini Ghosh, who is from the Vedanta Intercultural Society, Cultural Center, part of the Hindu faith tradition. And she is speaking with us today in Rancho Palos Verdes, right, Rini?
Yes.
From California, yes. So please help us to welcome Dr. Rini Ghosh. And Rini, I would love for you to say a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you do, and just so the audience gets to know you a little bit more.
Thank you so much, Milia, for having me. And I'm so very fond of South Coast Interfaith Council and of you when you came 11 years, a little girl coming in with a resume bigger than the Encyclopedia Britannicas. So, and I'm so glad for what SCIC does. I've been connected with it for a limitless amount of years, and I've just retired from that. So, and SCIC does such a wonderful job of bridging all the faiths together and bringing compassion. I'm indeed very, very grateful you're doing this, and I'm very honored to be invited to be a part of this session. My name is Rini Ghosh, and I belong to the Hindu faith, the Vedanta Society, which I've been born into it and grown with it. I'm a great fan of Swami Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi, and I've followed them all my life. And so I'm a peace activist and an interfaith activist. Mostly my last few years I've devoted to that, last many years, but I'm actually an entrepreneur too. And I maintain a factory in India. My husband passed away in 2015, and I'm trying to not sort of let the employees go, trying to maintain them. And that takes off most part of my thing because I'm up most of the night because of the time changes. So I do that, and I have my nonprofit, Vedanta International Cultural Center, which we mainly feed the homeless. That's one of our big things, and we deal with the foster kids and all that. So that's basically it. My lifestyle, I have a son, 30 years old, and I'm very proud of him.
My goodness, I remember when he was just little. Oh my gosh.
It flies when you're having fun, Milia.
It does. And I used to always say this, and I still say it, one day we're going to see this young man leading the country in some capacity or not. So he's no doubt he takes after his mother and his father. And so he's a testament to both of you, Rini, and we love him.
Thank you so much. I see your little daughter with all the books growing up. So she can be quite interfaith princess, I thought.
Yes, there we go. All right. So I one of the first questions, Rini, that I always ask our guest is, we try to kind of make this more personal, right? So we all know that as a whole world, we're dealing with this pandemic and it's affecting us in various levels. But as for you, as a practitioner of the Vedanta Society, as a mother, as an entrepreneur, as a woman, how has this pandemic affected you personally? What are some of the things that you are experiencing that you really never thought that you would before?
Exactly. It has caused a real change in everybody's life. Let me start with a greeting to everybody. Our Hindu greeting, I usually start with that. It's Namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in each one of us, in each one of you. So we are all one. It's the cosmic unity that we believe in. And also Vedanta has taught me we are going through very bad times. And it's, again, I think it's the haves and have-nots.
Right.
So the haves, we are sitting at home and we are complaining. We can't do this, we can't do that.
Right.
But the have-nots, when you see them, Milia, all over in the TV screens, all over the world, standing in line, and now it's starting to get hot in some parts of the country. It's getting warmer weather. They're standing in line to just get a little bit of food. They don't have, if the month goes by, they don't have a job. If their salary doesn't come in, what happens? So somehow my personal thing gets all mixed up in that, because I start thinking of the have-nots, and that's something. And then Vandana Shiva, who is one of environmental author, and she's received several awards and all that. She's quite holds quite a clout in this area. And she tells us it's man-made. It's us who have created this. It's our greed. It's our this globalization, doing everything in mass production. Everything we have to have now, and we have to have big, and we have to have lots of. We have to change that path. But Vedanta teaches me that everything is changing. The whole world is changing. Nothing is permanent. So we are going through bad times. One day it will change very soon. As we have also read poems and all about, if winter comes, can spring be far behind? So I'm waiting for that spring to come, though now that spring is over. I'm still waiting for that. Nothing is permanent in the world. So it has to change. And that's been my life, kind of, thinking of how it will change. But it will change in a big way, I think. The new normal won't be the same as the regular normal. We have to change our ways. Otherwise, Mother Nature will take a hold of us. And very soon, maybe, we won't have the same things, humanity, that keeps humanity alive. So that's a big thing to consider. Now we are going through this change. We have to go inside. We have gone a lot inside meditation, because meditation, pranayama, the breath inside, when we control your breath, you see the breath controls everything, and it controls our energy. And with that energy, we can have a healthy life, we can have a healthy mind, and we can be healthy emotionally. That helps us. The meditation really helps us. But you feel sad you can't visit, like now it's Ramadan. And I used to be invited to so many iftars.
Yeah.
And as I was telling you and Sarah, that I used to fast every time I was invited for an iftar. I would fast that day in memory of my friend. But now I don't know which day to fast. So I'm asking, do you have important days? Because I can't fast the whole month. Sorry.
No, of course.
So I'm asking you all, do you have very important days I can fast and make up for that? So by the end of the pandemic, I'm thinking you can be, in Hinduism, we say we have 3 layers. The sattvic layer, which is the saintly, S-A-T-W-I-K, sattvic. It's really everything good. Everything, inside, you have controlled your inside, you have realized that divinity. Very few of us, get to go to that stage in this life, excepting maybe our saints, our sadhus, our monks. But the next stage is Rajasic, which is all action, karma yoga. So we do karma yoga, we do good stuff. But as soon as we do karma, all action is related to results of that action. So as soon as we get attached to those results, we don't achieve that divinity. We don't achieve that higher state of mind, because we're doing those results. We're feeding the homeless. Some people go there and take selfies and then put them on Facebook. But
postmodern phenomenon, yes.
Exactly. So that's the Rajasic, the karma yoga. Some people will do a lot of karma, but you have to be careful not to get attached to those results of that action. And the third are the tamasic. They are the poor souls who have they just want immediate satisfaction. So you can end up, after the pandemic, 54 pounds heavier than what you started the pandemic with. Because you're tamasic, you're enjoying life, you're eating all the junk food, you're sitting at home and doing that. Or you become a hoarder. Have you seen what's happening with the toilet paper? And you'll end up, people are hoarding things.
Right.
So you become a hoarder. So this is the best time to judge yourself. What course of action? You can become a tamasic very easily. And you can become a rajasic, which most of us are trying to be. And sattvic is the next one. I don't know whether we'll achieve that. So basically, that's been my thing. I miss the going to the temple a lot, but we have home. But, we have our small deity and that place at home that I pray, and everyone prays, and we have. But somehow I'm realizing I'm doing more spiritual stuff now than before, because then I had an excuse not to go to the classes, the traffic.
Especially LA, right?
I know. So I could say, Swami, I can't come. The traffic is too bad at that time. Right. But now we have all the aratis are being streamlined. The evening vespers are being streamlined. So I sit on the couch and watch arati. Yeah. And then we have classes. And so everything I'm enjoying at home and getting more time. And I'm reading more now and doing more meditation. So it's been a real change and real something that it's good and bad.
Right. Right. No, there's definitely benefits. I mean, my goodness, Rini, there's so much that I have to unpack with what you just said, which is fantastic. It's interesting you talk about this, in many ways you're being more spiritual. And, during Ramadan, like you said, typically it's usually, particularly within the American paradigm, the country doesn't stop because it's Ramadan. You still have work, you still have meetings, you're still in your car, you're stuck in traffic. I can't say how many times I broke my fast, sitting on the 91, right? Because the sun sets and I have to eat. And it's so interesting what you said about us feeling like it's an opportunity for us to be more spiritual, because regardless of what faith you are, I think you're absolutely right. I was talking to my husband yesterday, Arfan, and one of the things we always try to do during Ramadan is read the Quran more, right? But it takes time. It takes time to read. It takes time to contemplate, to really connect. And I realized last night as I was reading, I was like, wow, in this first 7 days, I've read more than I've done a lot in other Ramadans. Why is that? Because of the time, right? You're absolutely right. And it's interesting to see how all faith traditions share that. They all share that sentiment. Okay, so I'm going to unpack some of the things that you said and ask you some more questions. Now, for our viewers, some are very familiar with various faith traditions as the Hindu faith tradition, and some we have who aren't. They're not clear about what does this mean and what does that mean. So some questions I wanted to ask. Tell us a little bit about the Hindu faith and kind of the key components of the faith. And then tell us a little bit more specifically about the Vedanta society. What does that mean? Your Swami, what are the principles that they practice, that you practice, that might be different from traditional or other interpretations of the Hindu faith as well?
You've asked for a long thing, over 3,000 years of history.
You have 2 minutes.
And stop me whenever you feel like, because I can go for hours on this.
Sure.
So the main thing is, when you talk of Hinduism, you have to talk outside the box. Okay. It's not an ism. It's not a faith like we believe in the Abrahamic, the Western religions. It's not an organized religion at all. Mm. We say we are not believers. We are seekers. Hindus are taught to be seekers. We have to ask a lot of questions. And we have to realize within ourselves. So we are seekers, not believers. Then it said Hinduism is the most democratic religion, because you can believe in one God and be a Hindu. You can believe in several gods and be a Hindu. And in some cases, you can believe in no God and be a Hindu. So God is not our main thing. The main thing is our dharma. Dharma is a Sanskrit word. And it's very difficult to get an exact English meaning to it, but it's sort of a code of conduct, international code of conduct that we have to follow in life. To be a Hindu, you have to do that. You can pray once, you can pray twice. Usually we pray twice a day at least, but we don't have to. If you don't want to pray, if you're a karma yogi, you're out in the fields. You don't pray. But you're doing that karma yoga and you're following the dharmic rules of life.
Mm-hmm.
And the dharmic rules of life are, it's cosmic. The main thing is the unity of existence.
Mm.
In Rig Veda, it is said, Ekam Sat Vipra Vivaha Vedanti.
Mm.
Truth is one. All religions, all faith, everything is one. We are all one. Not only religion's faith, but every way we are all one. When we hurt one, as I said in my greeting, the divine in me honors the divine in you. So if the same divine that's in me that divine is in you and you and you, then how can you hurt anybody else? But how many of us follow that, right? How can you hurt anybody in thought, word, and deed? Not only in deed, you don't, non-violence, you don't hurt in deed, but even in your thoughts, you can't sort of hurt anybody because you're hurting yourself. Swami Vivekananda said, love thy neighbor as thyself. But your neighbor is yourself. That divinity is you. So you have to truly believe in that. And you talked of Swamis. Our Swamis do that. They give up their family, they give up their life. We have these, PhD in physics, quantum physics, and you've met Swami Sarvapriyanandaji. They are so brilliant. They've given up everything. And, they sort of, I don't know whether I'm supposed to say this or not, but they give up their life. They do sort of their own funeral. They completely give up their past life and they take on this new life. So I'm so indebted to them. The Swamis and the Prabrajikas, we call them Matajis. They are unbelievably in another world of their own. And now, in Vedanta, I don't think we have a bad Swami, but in others, we hear of, gurus turning rogue, and we have in every religion all that. But the main part of that monastic life is to be giving up your family, giving up everything. Vedanta, Swami Vivekananda composed our motto of Vedanta. Vedanta in India is Ramakrishna mission. It comes from Ramakrishna, who was sort of, he's known as one of the avatars. We call him the modern avatars. So he founded this, and Swami Vivekananda spread that knowledge. So what did Swami Vivekananda say was the motto of Vedanta? It's Atmano Mukshartam Jagat Hitayacha, for the salvation of one's soul and for the benefit of the world. So that's the motto of the Swamis, and that's the motto of the devotees also, to follow as much as we can on that. Okay. And now to talk of Hinduism. So Hinduism was born sometime, they say about 2,500, 3,000 years old. Archaeological facts are bringing that up. It comes from the basic books are the Vedas, the Puranas, the Brahmanas, but the Vedas. So that's why we are termed Vedanta, the knowledge of the Vedas. So that's our main thing that we go by. But we have myths and epics. And Gita, the celestial song of God, is very popular, and it sort of, in concise form, it gives us the whole gist of Hinduism, that non-attachment. And what they say is, you can achieve that divinity, that spiritual enlightenment, and that freedom. And we say from death to immortality. What is immortality? The soul never dies. So we don't die. Our body dies, our mind dies, but we don't die. The Atma stays on and on. How can we achieve that? How can we achieve that immortality? Through 4 yogas. It's Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of love. You have to love something and do something in a way that it sort of encompasses your whole life. Like the mother loves the child. So you have to love God that way. Do everything for him. Even if you're cooking for your husband and your family, you think that's a service to God. You're doing it for God. So that's Bhakti Yoga, the yoga of love. Then there's Karma Yoga, which is, most of us go for that Karma Yoga thing because it's easier to do. You do service, you do seva. But the hard part is you can't be attached. to the results. You know, when we first formed VICC, he's left his body now. Our Swami, who founded this, he told me that never be, one day I came, Swami, we are having these events, but nobody comes to them. We had only 5 people. He said, never do that.
Right.
It's not how many people come. You do your work, and then how many people come or not, it's your thing. And I've seen in my own life, Milia, that has happened. When I started Karma Yoga, I started feeding the homeless. I used to go to UCO in Long Beach. I and one friend of mine, we used to do, and we made lasagnas and all because they were easier to do. We would just bake. And it was such hard work because you did it alone. Suddenly now I have such a group of people. Now I have to tell them, oh, don't come. So many people don't come to help in the homeless feeding because they do every work. I just sit and just order people around, or they just tell me, Rini, you sit there. So I'm not doing anything. So people just come and you don't have to worry about if you're doing good work. So that's karma yoga. You can't worry about the results and can't get attached to the results. That's karma yoga. Another way to find liberation and freedom and be one with that divinity. The third is Jnana yoga. The yoga, Jnana means knowledge. So the knowledge, the yoga of knowledge. So yoga of knowledge is having that true wisdom. It's not reading up a few books and saying, I know this and I have a MA in this and I have a PhD in that. It's the true knowledge. What makes you a human being, that knowledge. You can be really ignorant. You can be a sort of not even a graduate per school, but you have that wisdom in you to be that good, that show that good within you. So that's Jnana Yoga. And the last is Raja Yoga. You combine all these and you meditate, because that meditation makes you strong inside and it gives you so much joy. And that joy inside you, you spread to everybody. Like the fire, you know, your soul is like the fire. The fire, the heat is not only inside the fire, it's all around. When there's a fire, the heat is all around you. Right. So when you are that enlightened soul, you have that fire in you, you're not only joyful and blissful inside, but you spread that around you. Everybody enjoys your bliss and your happiness and your joyfulness. Mind you, don't be frivolous. That's not the same as bliss and joy. Be joyful, be blissful, but not frivolous. You have to be serious in that joy. You have to be blissful in that joy. So those are the 4 yogas, and yogas like we mean it here, that's one part of yoga, to keep your body fit. And we do lots of this bending, that bending, half of which I can't do at my age now. But yoga really means, yoga is the plus sign, it's addition sign. So yoga means your unity in the whole world, unity with cosmic existence. We are all one. That is yoga. Yoga is that unity. Your Atman joins up with Brahman. Brahman is the divine soul. Atman is, again, you can't sort of translate into English so much, but it's sort of your soul. And then the divine, the soul is part and parcel. It's the divine. So you are the divine. You are Sat, Chit, Ananda, we are told. You are Sat means truth. Your Chit means pure consciousness. And Ananda is bliss. So you're not the body. You're not the mind. Chidananda Rupa. Shivoham, Shivoham. You're not the body. You're not the mind. You're bliss. You're beautiful. You're the truth. You are divine. That's what the Vedas, the Puranas, that was Upanishad. The Upanishad, Kena Upanishad tells us that you're not the body, you're not the mind. You are that divinity. And we are put on this earth to be, we are divine. We are put on this earth to manifest that divinity. It's that divinity is, you think of that, you look at the stars and you say, okay, that's divine, and that light is there, and you think, I am divine? How can you say that? Because you can't say that, because you're covered by illusion. You're covered by Maya, so you don't see. You're covered by that thing of time, space, and causality. Your Atma, your divine, it's like the movie screen. It's always there. The movie screen is always there. But when you go to a movie and the lights are put off and all the scenes of the movie are projected, and you think those are real, you cry and you laugh with the actors, right? And for a few hours, you think that's real, what's happening. And then the end comes and the lights go on and you see the movie screen. The movie screen hasn't changed. It was the scenes that were portrayed on that. So our life is like that. We think, all this thing, the joy and sorrow that's going on, it's real. But once you realize it's all Maya, and that's what we have to realize through meditation, through japa, which is, chanting and saying the name of the Lord so many times a day, you start realizing that this is not real, it's ever changing. You need something permanent. You need to get out of this sorrow, joy, happiness. You need to get out of this and realize that we are divine. We need to be in that ocean of divinity. And every religion says that. Right. There's, every religion is the same. It's not the same. It's part of the puzzle. If you take out, we are all very, very unique. Each religion is unique in itself. And it has a gift for the world. Each religion has a particular gift for the world. And the world can't do without that gift. It's like a part of the puzzle. If you take out one piece, the puzzle can't be finished. Right. So you have to have all the things over there. All the religions have different paths maybe, but they have the same goal. You're going to that. So I'm talking too much.
No, this is fantastic. I was, as you were talking, I literally was remembering courses that I took on Hinduism, and so many things are coming back, and I was like, it's there's so many multi-layers of it as well. Yeah. There's a lot of philosophical aspect of it. You touched a little bit about how you were saying that one of the things that you do is prayer, chanting, naming the names of the Lords. I know, for me, someone who studied religion academically, one of the questions that always came about when we looked at Hinduism, right? And I think a lot of people have this question, and I think they want to seek the clarity. There's this concept of, they think, in Hinduism, there's so many gods. How in the world are we going to remember all this? Are there really that many gods, or is it really one God? Or, that's the question that comes up a lot. And even with Christianity, understanding the whole essence of the Trinity, but relating back to Hinduism, can you talk a little bit about that? When you talk about, when in Hinduism, oftentimes we see, pictures of various different manifestations of gods, a god of this, a god of that. Are there really that many gods? What we often hear the term, Brahman, right? What is that a name for the god? So tell me a little bit about how you understand within the Hindu faith this concept of God.
Of course, the Hindu faith, as it has grown, right, for 3,000 years, it's grown and grown and grown. Sure. There were many layers of it. But the main belief, what Vedas teach us, is Brahman. And Brahman doesn't mean it means God to us now, but actually it means vastness. It means bliss. So Brahman, not to be confused with Brahmin, which is the caste, the caste, Brahmin, M-I-N. But this is B-R-A-H-M-A-N. Brahman is vastness. Brahman is bliss. But what happens is, as I said, Hinduism is democratic. You can choose your person. According to your temperament, you can choose your God. And this is where the guru system, which was very prevalent in the olden ages, and now even I have a guru. So you need a spiritual teacher, like you when you went to Harvard, your advisor saw your temperament and advised you, go for this, don't go for that. So our spiritual teacher looks at our temperament and says, your God is this. Do you believe? Do you believe that this is your God? This is how you personify God. So you have your personal God, and the guru, your spiritual teacher leads you towards it. But for the most part, like when you're young, you need all these gods, because then you pick up one God. As I was saying, or I will say, Orin started with Ma Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge. And he would go before every exam, he would become very, very religious and pray to God and say, okay, so I know all my questions. Please give me an A, and all that he would tell, Ma Saraswati, please do this for me. And that's how he started praying. And, he started doing his morning prayers that way. So that's a stepping stone. And then he realized, as he went up the ladder, as he grew up, he realized Ma Saraswati is just a part. So then you realize it's just a manifestation. Like I am a mother to some, I'm a wife to someone, hopefully, and a sister to some, and, friend to some. So God has so many manifestations. So whatever you believe, some you want to believe as a mother, some you want to believe as your father. So, but mainly Hinduism says that there's one divinity, Brahman. But that divinity has three basic manifestations, the Trinity. It's Vishnu, Brahman is the creator. He has created. And then he rests. He does no other work. He creates and he lies in this lotus position and he gives up. He sort of meditates. Then Vishnu comes in to maintain the world. Vishnu is the maintainer. And Shiva is the recycling process. He destroys and he brings in new stuff. So Shiva is a big one. But behind, these are all actors. They are creating things. They are doing. It's again karma. But behind all this, behind action, you need a power. For that action, you need an inspiration and power. And that's the Divine Mother. Durga, Kali, whatever that's the Divine Mother. So the Trinity is there, the three of them, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. And then the power behind them is the Mother, Divine Mother. Mm. So that's basically it. And all the others are manifestations. But, spiritually, I'm not saying intellectual or anything. If you're not grown that much, if you haven't matured that much, you feel like taking on just one aspect of it. The business people, they sort of worship Lakshmi all the time. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth. Mm-hmm. And we have Diwali, and we just had Akshay Tritiya, which is, you open your new books of business, books of accounts on that day, because you worship Lakshmi, you do a big puja, you do a big ritual, offer everything to her at her feet, and you start your new year. So these are all manifestations, and we love all the manifestations. And they say we have 333 million gods and goddesses.
Wow.
So can you imagine that? I don't know how much about that, but we love these manifestations, and we sort of give them one day each to sort of be devoted to that part, that manifestation of the divine. Mm-hmm. But actually, then you reach the stage when you've passed all these manifestations, you have your Ishta Devata, your personal God, and you're thinking of that God, whichever suits your temperament. But I believe when you reach another stage, you forget about all this, and you're just meditating on that Om, that Om, that sound, and it brings you all the meditation, all the inner power, all the energy in you.
So let me ask you this, in relating back to what's happening right now, during this pandemic, some of the things that you were talking about, how praying to these gods, all these gods being a manifestation of kind of the one vastness or oneness of the God. These prayers that happen, I know there are temples, there are Hindu temples, around the world, around America. There's one actually just down the street from me almost in Chino, this huge, beautiful one. But I'm wondering right now, though, because of the pandemic, because we have the shelter at home, I'm assuming that these temples are also, they're closed right now? right?
Yes.
So my question then to you is, I want to show this picture because, and I think this is of in your house, and the way that you worship in terms of how you're taking that prayer aspect and that you can still implement it in your home. So tell me what I'm looking at, and is this something that you see in all the practitioners of Hindu, or all the people who practice Hinduism? Is this something that you would see in their household?
Yes, maybe not as elaborate. I have a room devoted, which is called the Puja Room, the worship room. But like when I started out in life, when I first came to America, we were living in an apartment, so we had a room. So I had a small corner. But usually we have a small corner or a shelf where we put some parts, some gods and goddesses. Now here I have all my Ramakrishna Thakur, Sharadama, Vivekananda, and my Gurudev, who I took my initiation from. I pray to them every day, and I do my sit in front. First I used to sit on the ground, but now I prefer to sit in a chair, comfortable chair, and do my meditation. But I think of these gods and do meditation, and as you can see, the Om is above the altar, kind of. The Om is there, the sign.
That's right.
Right on top, you can see that. That's my usual prayer thing. And this is my prayer room, but people have, but in a much smaller scale sometimes, and some people have it even a beautiful, beautiful marble worship room in their house. I've seen some beautiful places in their house. So it depends on your, how you want to do it. And this day, where I was worshipping is, I shouldn't say it, but as the world knows him as the monkey god. And that's Hanumanji. So beginning of April, we have his birthday. So I was celebrating his birthday, and I put all the candles, and we usually give lots of fruits also. But I ordered the fruit because my son won't let me get out of the house. I ordered the fruit and they couldn't give the fruit on time. They said they'll be late. So what could I do? I quickly prepared these things with chickpea flour and sweet and sugar. I made these laddus, which is his favorite anyway. He wanted that maybe. And I offered it to Hanumanji and said my prayers, and there's, lots of, and in Vedanta, our Vedanta temple is not closed to outsiders, but there are so many swamis and so many other people living there.
Mm.
So it's not closed. They keep their distances. They sit in different pews, and they have their evening arati, the evening prayers, because the god has to be fed and bathed and put incense. So they have their regular things going on at Vedanta. But in my house and in most of the Hindus, what they do, we are not sort of, prescribed to go to the temple every day or every week or even every month. If you don't go, you don't go. But you have everything in the house. You have your fixed devatas, your deities, and you offer and you pray and you do your japas. So in the pandemic too, as I said, we are becoming more spiritual, and everything is being streamlined from the temple. So we are doing all the classes. We are doing yesterday, last night, every Thursday, we do group Zoom chanting. So we had chanting. It was beautiful also. But sometimes, so many people chanting, we go overboard and we become very unmusical and very unrhythmical. So that was, and the worst voices wants to portray that. So we have that, but we miss it because going to a temple is something else. And we say that going to the temple, we do darshan. Darshan is seeing. So we do darshan to the deity that's there. And that the temple has such good vibrations everywhere. The church, so many people, the mosque, so many souls have been there praying. And so it's that vibration we miss. We miss that going to the temple. And the darshan, we see God, we see the deity, but the God is also seeing us. We say that his eyes are on you too. So we see that. And when we put our head on the ground near the altar, what we do is usually we put head on the ground. As you grow older, you can't touch your head to the ground. So you pick up the dust, because that ground contains the dust of the feet of so many devotees. That is so pure. You take the dust and you put it on your forehead.
Wow.
And when you put the head on the ground, you're doing that. All the dust of the devotees of the ages you go to a temple and do that. That dust you take on your forehead. And that's something. So we miss all this in the temple, but we try to make up with everything being done virtually by Zoom or whatever.
It's interesting. When I was doing a little bit of research on this, about this interview, what I was going to ask you, I came across these articles that showed exactly kind of like what you have in your home. There's another one, and I think this is a home that's in Pennsylvania, and I'd love to show that picture, and a family that's coming together, and similar to kind of what you're doing as well. And they were talking about how one of the things about Hinduism is exactly what you said, or practicing Hindus is, of course, everybody loves to go to the temple. Everybody would love to go to the place of worship, but the faith is such that it can be done very personally as well at home. And I think they're depicting that in this picture. And then there's another one, and this is in Pennsylvania and in America, but this one is two young girls, and this was actually in Australia. And what was really interesting is you were talking about live stream or streaming programs. They're actually watching their program at the temple, because there are people that are still at the temple, like you said, at the centers, but they themselves are obviously safe at home. So it's really interesting how people adapt to that, right? And you can you miss that connection, but you're still able to practice the faith. And I think in doing so, I'm certain that allows you to deal with the pandemic as well, because you have that spiritual connection.
Exactly. This is exactly how it's done, Milia, in everybody's individual homes. And, I was so jealous seeing that the family in Australia, they have so many people living together. And I miss all that because I've been brought up. And even when I got married, I went into a joint family. And to have the mother-in-law, father-in-law, and everybody around you, nieces and nephews, that. So I was so jealous of that because now I'm just two of us living in the house.
Don't worry, Rini. As soon as this shelter at home is lifted, Sarah, me, and the entire board of the South Coast Interfaith Council will show up at your door.
Oh, I would welcome that.
At all. We'll be there. And you cook amazingly as well. So we'll proudly be there and eat all your delicious food too. So speaking of food, I do want to, this is a good way to ask this other question. In the past for the Interfaith Council, we've honored people within the Vedanta Society who, like you said, where they do tremendous work in feeding the homeless. You yourself have worked with the organization Urban Community Outreach, which the SCIC partners with, and we do a lot of interfaith feeding the homeless initiatives with them. But even outside of that center, like you said, we honored, I remember a couple of years ago, we honored a trio, 3 individuals who just, they cook astounding amounts of food and feed astounding amounts of people as part of their faith. And I wonder at this time, particularly those who are so engaged in the karmic yoga, where you're doing the tasks, how does the pandemic, what effect does it have on that, where perhaps you're not able to do it in the same way?
Exactly. We don't do it in the same way because going out, we don't want to do that. But we do donate and we sow and we, put in our energy and emotion. But one thing, of course, we are told is don't let the right hand know what the left hand is giving. So we have to keep it quiet, but we do it. But if you see pictures, there are lots of pictures in India, what the Swamis are doing. Over here, they can't go out in a group that way and do it. But in India, they're doing a marvel. All this, not only our organization, all the organizations are doing such a marvelous work. And you see these pictures of them handling food. And even, like some of our people, our workers have said that what a wonderful job they're doing in India. But over here right now, it's donation and sewing and providing emotional support. There are elders at home sometimes. And, we just talk to them and sort of bring up and read them a chapter of the Gita or something and take part with them. So that's how we are contributing right now.
So you're still
feeding, homeless feeding.
Right. Okay. But you're still able to kind of fulfill that
Yes.
responsibility, but right. You talked a little bit about these various holidays and sacred times within the faith. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe in Diwali comes about from October to November, around that
Yes.
time. It's coming up. And I think if I remember correctly, kind of in the fall, you have the onset of a lot of sacred pujas and celebrations that are on the calendar. Now, we don't know what the next couple of months holds in terms of what's going on, the pandemic, but assuming that, it's still the same, assuming that we're asked to stay at home, how do these celebrations change? What's the, how do you see it being changed? Because clearly you're not able to, I know the Diwali, I participated in so many of those in the past, and it's fun, and you're there, and there's so many people, and, things.
Dancing.
It's dancing, it's eating, it's, joyous. And what happens when you're at home and you're not with your community? How do you practice that? How is that kind of, not altered, but how do you still practice those holidays?
I know it's very, very sad. Of course, Vedanta will, zoom it, what the pujas they're doing. But we have sort of four or five community associations, and they're feeling very sad about it because they bring in artists, and there's song, there's dance, there's singing and dancing. Most of our religious functions are very, very happy, joyful, and dancing and singing and eating. That's what we do. Most of them. And sometimes we put even colors on our faces and play with colors. So it's a heck of a fun thing. And now the present presidents, they're talking and they're saying, what are we going to do? Because even if it opens, we have to keep it small. We have to social distance ourselves, because this is going to come up big again in winter.
Right.
So even if we open up, we are thinking of changing everything. So we had a very good, Baisakhi is something like the beginning of Bengali New Year. We had Zoom. We had it in Zoom, and we had our people were singing. And then there's a couple who did a comedian, sort of comedy on so we're trying to sort of adapt our ways and do the puja at home, quickly finish it so that we can get into the Zoom thing. But I think we'll have to do it that way, because even we were saying that we can't do it, because these were thousands of people used to come to each one of them. And then we would have to cater the food sometimes. Sometimes people like my three, we call them the unsung heroes, they would cook sometimes, but we'll miss all that and have to do it in a small scale, do everything Zoom wise mainly. And especially the entertainment, we will have to do Zoom wise. We can't have so many people sitting in the auditorium that way.
Do you feel that moving forward, you're right, even if it opens, it has to be a progression? And in fact, there was this excellent article that talked about that in regards to the Hindu temples, and particularly because so many congregants come, and how they have to really kind of almost systematically approach that. It was interesting. It was talking about how they're cleaning all the temples, and one of the main things they're adding are sanitizers everywhere, right? And you have to sanitize before you enter. And once you go in, you have to sanitize again, and things like that. But I wonder, and this is something that I think all faith communities are wondering, do you feel that even as we kind of open the world, open to the outside again, once we kind of, get beyond our homes and get into the new normal, right, where we're out and about, do you feel that these online and these, the Zoom programs and the live stream, do you think they will still continue?
I think so. The way we are going, the new normal, we have to adapt ourselves to the new normal. It can't be the old normal anymore. So in every way. And I think when you have some time, I'll read out something from Vandana Shiva. We have to change our ways, and not religion-wise, but religion-wise also, this huge gatherings can't go on, because it does take a toll on the sort of the cleanliness and, the bacterial functions and all that, I guess.
The well-being of the community, the health well-being. I want to, before we kind of conclude, I want to kind of circle back to something you said in the beginning, and that was when you were talking about what's happening right now, and you talked about this concept of where we've really kind of lost our focus, right? And what's happening right now is what we created, this concept of greed and always, instant gratification, must have this, must have that. Do you find that aside from kind of, the traditional prayers that are rooted from the sacred text, do you find that your religious leaders, your swamis, the priests, that they are now having open dialogues about that's something that's being talked about more and more, because we actually see in physical terms what we've done to the world? So is that something that has kind of taken on a new importance?
Very much so, because we were so related, Hinduism being such an old, like the Native American. So we were so related to nature. And, each tree, each stone is sort of, has a meaning to us. All our gods have a pet. We call them their carriers. Mother Durga has the tiger, whereas Ganesh, who's supposed to be he takes away he's the elephant-headed god who takes away all the obstacles. He has a mouse for his pet. So and we used to pray to these pets. And we used to pray in the mornings, we have this thing, we go to the balcony, I have a little tulsi, holy basil, and we water that tulsi. But we had forgotten all that. How many people can have a tulsi at home?
Right.
So, you live in an apartment, you don't have a tulsi at home. So we've forgotten all that. And people are talking about it, that we have to, Mother Nature. But one thing I don't like about Milia, I must tell you personally, is we talk of Mother Nature and Father Greed. And I feel very sorry every time we say Father Greed. Because I see my father's face, and my father was I'm the only child. So my father was the most adorable thing for me. So, we should realize that we can't go one way or the other. It's, we go overboard. Okay, the women were put down, men were all in all. Now we say women is everything, men are nothing. No, we need both sides. In everything, we need both sides of the coin. We need the male, we need the female. So let's not say Father Greed from now on. I see in all these articles now, and I read so much these days, Father Greed, and I go on saying, it's not Father Greed. They're the most adorable things under the sun, the Father is. So let's not say that. It's always two sides. And it's the balance. We have to. In Gita, it says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavatu bharata. So every time there is an imbalance and unrighteousness outweighs righteousness, he proclaims himself in some way. And that's why we say we have so many avatars. And in our avatar, we believe Jesus is an avatar, Buddha is an avatar, Muhammad is an avatar, Krishna, Rama, all these are avatars. They come in different parts of the world where they're needed. So all these are needed. So maybe this was needed. And it's not an avatar, definitely not an avatar, but it's Mother Nature showing us that, hey, you can't control me. You think you have mastery over nature? You can't.
You can't. No, absolutely.
We have to realize that we are not the masters. Mm-hmm. We have to work all together, united we stand. Unity in diversity.
Right. So Rini, there's so much that you said. This is wonderful. And I'm looking at the time, and we're almost at time, but if, as we kind of conclude this program, what are maybe three most important things that you want to share with our community about how the Hindu faith, what you practice has enabled you to live through this pandemic? Little bits of pieces that we can also implement in our lives and as other practitioners of other faiths, but that comes from your own faith tradition, and that we can all implement, and thus allowing us to find hope amidst this pandemic that we're all living in?
Big question. But most of the faiths, as I said, lead to the same goal. We may be having, different paths. We may take 405 or 101 to get to SCIC, but we all want to get to SCIC. So that's the main thing. I think meditation is one big thing. You have to draw yourself inwards and see, who am I? I'm not this person who's going around and, getting up in the morning, putting on this makeup, looking at my GPS, when do I reach here, when do I reach there? You have to sit down, get collected, go inside for at least a few moments. You have to meditate, because that's the energy inside you. And that energy can work wonders, Milia. If the energy of the whole world can be put together, we can work wonders. And we have to go inside and do that, not just go outside. And fear is one of the things that has brought on the most, all the negative side of humans. You have to give up fear. Death is the most certain thing. If you're born, you have to die. So why do we fear so much? And we do. Even in this pandemic, what are we scared of? Fear. Oh my God, what's going to happen? The fear of the unknown. So why is there so much fear? Vivekananda said, fear is the only sin. He says there's no sin, because everywhere there's God. But fear is the only sin you can have, because fear brings out the worst in us, the most negative things in us. Everything we do, even hoarding, the fear of not having this. Why do we hoard new toilet paper?
Right.
I couldn't get that in the beginning. That why do we do that?
Right.
So why do we hoard so much?
Right.
Because it's fear. Oh my God, we are going to run out. So from that basic thing it starts, and then we start hoarding weapons. Then we start hoarding nuclear. So it's all hoarding. So we have to get rid of that and just go inside, pray. Chant, get together. It's so beautiful. Even in Zoom, if you get together and chant and see all the faces, chant the name of God together, it's a beautiful thing. The rhythm, the lyrics, the music together. Music brings up God in you. So if we all do it together, it's so amazing. Last night, I felt so good after doing that. So that's one thing. And karma yoga. We have to feel for the others. If you can't give money, give your emotion, give your time, give whatever you can to them that need it.
So this essence of meditation, the importance of looking in and seeking in, like something that definitely, you're absolutely right, we can all practice. Giving up fear. You're right. Now, a lot of fear mandates a lot of negative actions. And the last thing, feel for the others, do our part in terms of, do our parts in terms of serving a greater humanity. You're right. I think those two things are certainly applicable in all faith traditions. And I thank you, for those reminders that we can practice in our lives as well. Before I conclude, Rini, I have to share this image with you, because I thought it was so clever and I loved it. And then I'm going to ask you to give us a concluding prayer. But I was looking through and, I was doing research. I found this excellent thing, and it said, the mask I wear to protect you honors the mask you wear to protect me. So namaste. So, certainly it means no disrespect, but I think it's a very clever way to really stress the importance of protection at this time. So I had to share that with you, because it did.
Not at all. It's not any way derogatory or anything. It is what yes, the mask you wear protects me. The mask I wear protects you. Right. The divine in me honors the divine in you. So each thing we do has to do with each other.
Right.
Every action has to do. And we just can't say, oh, I'm the only one in this world. I couldn't care less. I can get rich and forget about the have-nots. No, it will come to you. So it's all interconnected. Right. The oneness of the cosmic unity.
Diversity and unity and unity and diversity, how it's all interconnected to one another. Well, Rini, thank you so much. This was fantastic. And it was so nice to, although we're not physically in the same place, it was nice to spend this time with you.
It was so nice, Milia.
And I thank you for your time and your wisdom and your knowledge and just for being who you are. And so before we conclude, I want to just remind all of our viewers that next week we have another Silver Linings. And I believe, because it is kind of the month of Ramadan, people have a lot of questions about how are people, practicing Ramadan amidst all this. We actually have Adina Lokovic, who's
She's wonderful.
She's fantastic. And so she's actually going to be speaking to us on behalf of the Islamic Center of Los Angeles. And so that's on Monday, May 11th. Before I ask Rini to conclude with a prayer, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll see all of our programs there. We put it online. And so we would love for you to subscribe, like our page on Facebook, and just come within the family of the Interfaith Council. We would love that. So Rini, I would be honored if you would conclude our program today with a prayer, please.
Okay. And thank you so much, Milia, for this wonderful program. And I'm looking forward to Edna's. And Rahul's was very good too. Rahul Devgril's was very good. And Sarah Roberts and all the others were very good. Thank you for having this program. So let me lead with a prayer, my usual one. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us all.
Thank you, Rini. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us again today. And we look forward to having you with us next week as well, next Monday on May 11th. Until then, please take care, be safe, be home. And we hope that you, too, are finding hope through your faith and the silver lining during this pandemic. Until then, thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.